I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
We only label days as good after they're gone. That line isn't new. I mean, how can we not when, every day, people seem greedier? Society feels more corrupt. The younger generations look softer, more spoiled. Respect doesn't hold the same weight it used to. This gives us a reason to think of the golden age, before all of this, when life was better and we were actually happier. But were we really? When people say the world is going downhill, one might forget to ask, when was it not? Because the same sentence posted on Twitter today was the complaint of Socrates 2,500 years ago. So, have we been falling for that long? Well, not quite. The way we talk about the good old days has less to do with an objective golden era and more to do with how we humans keep our lives coherent. Memory does the heavy lifting, and it does it without asking permission. Marcel Proust gave the process a shape. A Madeleine dipped in tea, opening a hallway of forgotten mornings, voices and feelings. Cognitive science calls the same thing different names: rosy retrospection, nostalgia bias. Daniel Kahneman taught us to pay attention to how memory selects. His experiments, and ones that followed, showed we don't judge a stretch of time by its average. We judge it by its peak and its end. In medical studies where patients underwent painful procedures, adding a slightly less painful final segment actually made people rate the whole experience as less aversive than a shorter procedure that ended badly. The memory was shaped not by the total sum of pain, but by how it finished. That's the mechanic behind postcards of vacations that felt perfect, even if most of the trip was rain and queues. The mind is not lazy, it's economical. It compresses, edits, files away a version that preserves meaning. That compression is useful. Konstantin Siddiqides and colleagues have shown nostalgia isn't just sentimental indulgence. It increases social connectedness. It gives people a sense of continuity. It calms you when things are unstable. But usefulness doesn't equal truth. Elizabeth Loftus's research on false memories is a counterweight worth carrying. Memory is reconstructive and easily influenced. People can be led to remember events that never happened, or to recall details with confidence that later prove false. Courts learned this the hard way when eyewitness testimony proved unreliable under controlled scrutiny. Families argue about dinner table events that apparently occurred in different versions for each person. The picture you carry from a perfect day hides the argument you've forgotten, the headache you ignored, the moment you promised to change and didn't. The warmth it triggers is real. The narrative your memory builds around it borrows pieces and fills the gaps. That same cultural editing happens at scale. Look at how decades are sold back to us. Advertisers, storytellers, politicians, and filmmakers portray the messy 1950s as diners and drive-ins and leave out the segregation and the fear of the bomb. The 1920s become flappers and jazz while the labour wars and instability gets ignored. That selective remembering isn't accidental, it's identity work, it's also political. Make X great again is not a policy proposal, it's a promise to reinstall a curated comfort. Whatever part of the past feels safe and shiny. The danger is that the curated past is easier to sell than the full truth. Small human stories make the pattern messier and more honest. Veterans often tell two kinds of memories: the ones that saved them, the jokes they shared at 3 a.m, the ritual of a cigarette passed quietly, an absurd sunrise in a strange place, and the ones that do not get told because they're too heavy. When you listen to oral histories from battlefields across wars, you hear an ugly tenderness. People cling to the small human things that made survival possible, and by doing so they reshape how the whole experience sits in the mind. That reshaping is both noble and incomplete. Companies learned how to use that emotional shorthand too. Kodak built a brand around Kodak moments, the idea that photographs could preserve life's warmth. The company trusted that narrative for so long it missed the tools that let everyone become their own archivist. The result was not just business failure, it's a lesson about how memories can be packaged, monetized, and turned into product. Today, social media does that same curating faster and flatter. We photograph meals we don't taste, shoot sunsets while standing a foot away from the water, build stacks of proof to show we were present without actually being there, if that makes any sense. Those images create an archive that the mind will use. If what you save is only the shine, memory will make the shine the story. That archive can be honest, and it can be a mask. Often, it's both. So what does that mean if you're sitting in your room, phone on your lap, scrolling and thinking everything's falling apart. The ache is not a sign of objective decline, it's the fact that the present is visible. Raw friction, obligations, the small continuous annoyances you live with. The past got to leave, the present hasn't, and your attention prioritizes problems because that's how the brain keeps you safe. The good bits hide between the tasks, but those are the details memory will later brighten. The paradox here is that the very mechanism that makes the past warm also makes it impossible to live inside its warmth while it is happening. Knowing that doesn't dissolve the longing, it reframes it. It reframes why whole generations claim that things were better. It reframes why political nostalgia is persuasive. It reframes why photographs and playlists hit so hard. The practical outcome of the reframing isn't a list of actions to do today. It's a change of posture toward the fact that meaning is being assembled from pieces and that the pieces are already in motion. You'll find different people respond to this in different ways. Writers like Proust used involuntary memory, the Madeleine, to show that the past is a living thing that can resurface and wash over you with feeling. In his case, it wasn't some grand event that triggered it. It was just a small cake dipped in tea, but the taste unlocked an entire childhood afternoon. The street he walked down, the feeling of the air, the faces of people long gone. It's not that the memory had been sitting there, fully intact. Behavioural researchers point out that those resurgences often serve a function. They reconnect you to people and a sense of continuity. Artists sell the nostalgia because they know it sells. The manipulative use of curated pasts is older than hashtags, and the ancient poet complaining about youth understood that instinct. The only honest claim left to make is that the good old days are both real and not. They are real because you lived them. They are not because your memory has already begun the process of simplifying them. The odd mercy is that the future does the same job to you. It will select, thin, brighten. And that's why most people, given enough time, talk about childhood like it was a single warm summer. 10 years from now, the struggles of today will be thinner, as you will tell yourself. So take a second to think about what you will actually remember. Maybe it will be this video. But regardless, it helps you get a grip on what's actually worth dwelling on right now. And that is no reason to stop grieving what you lose or to stop criticizing what's wrong. It is a reason to be a little gentler. The good old days are not waiting to be reclaimed. They are being constructed constantly by how you remember and by how you tell the story. And because memory will do the polishing for you, the choice left to you is simply this. What stories do you want the mind to have when it begins the editing? Which edges do you want kept instead of sanded away? In the end, that question sits next to another. When you say years from now, those were the good old days, will you be remembering a life that actually existed, or the life your mind made to keep you steady? Either way, you will be holding something that matters. The difference is whether you can hold it without pretending it was perfect.